Yo, what's up, guys? It's Nick Camine here, back again with another episode of Meet the Taco Plebs. And today, I have at Playful121 from Twitter, also known as Kristen Cozad, the founder of PlayNovation LLC, with me today. And say hi, Kristen.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Nick. Glad to be here.
I'm really looking forward to this interview. How about you tell us a little bit about yourself? What is PlayNovation LLC?
Oh, PlayNovation is a little company that I have. It's just me, myself, and I for the time being, for the most part. Founded in about 2013. And it came after about 10 years of collating 50 years of research and science as it relates to play, spanning from early childhood education, animal play, the neuroscience of play, etc. And collating all of that information, we came up with some pretty incredible insights, among of which is the fact that play, as we know, has been historically poo-pooed and disregarded as being unnecessary and gets in the way of work and, nose to the grindstone. But in essence, play is a basic survival drive, just as important as sleep and dreams. And when we don't play in our lives, basically we can experience what is known as play deprivation, which can be just as serious as sleep deprivation. And we now know that sleep deprivation has been used as a torture technique. And there are really bad negative consequences to a lack of sleep, just as cumulatively there are really bad consequences to play deprivation. So the science is there. I'm on the cutting edge of something that really hasn't hit mainstream. I happen to own, through the PlayNovation LLC, the only play patents in the world. And this is in regards to how to redesign engagement design or recreate engagement design so that we aren't depending on extrinsic reward systems and validation systems and addictive behaviors in design, addictive design as well. So that's what I'm working on the edges, just like Bitcoin. That's
really cool. I did not know that. I just learned something new today.
A lot of people are learning about play, but I'll tell you something, Nick. It's become more and more important, especially as particularly young adults are experiencing the high cost of mental illness that has absolutely skyrocketed. It's the worst that it's ever been, far beyond post-World War II levels. And I don't think we've really connected the dots as to what has happened in terms of current engagement design and the fact that authentic engagement, authentic play has been either suppressed or hijacked through basically what we call operant conditioning behaviorist design. So just like Bitcoin, I'm on a mission to inform the world about this and share the science and also share the patents and the intellectual property as well. So anybody who's interested in it, please go and see the website, www.playnovation.com.
That's awesome. Yeah. If you want to just click it real quick, I'll put the link to her website in the description for you guys. So yeah. So moving on from that, I wanted to ask you, what's your rabbit hole story and how did you find Bitcoin?
Oof. It's a long story. But in a nutshell, I think I have to start at about 2008 during the financial crisis. At that time, I was in real estate and I was working with people, actually women who had been working as field workers in the fields and had raised themselves up by their bootstraps to get their GEDs as well as their real estate licenses. And I was a broker at the time, was not really practicing, but through a couple of situations, one gal who had been working in the real estate field had said that she had been really mistreated as a realtor, as a Latina realtor by her broker. And could she come work for me? And I thought, well, why not? I speak Spanish. I grew up in Latin America. And I have been working with Migrant Head Start and migrant education programs in the past. And I thought, this is something I can do. So when that whole thing hit with the bad loans, et cetera, I really was at the front edge of seeing all of that. And then also, as a consequence, lost my business. But I also had to short sell my house. And I had to cut the losses and the bleeding. So after that happened, I said to myself, what the hell happened and why? Gosh darn it, I lost my business. I lost my house. I'm a single mom with 2 girls. What the hell happened? So I spent probably the next year and a half studying about finance and rehypothecation and how these loans were constructed that really hit people horribly. And I thought, this is just the pits. This can never happen again. So when years later, Bitcoin came along, I became a little interested because I didn't see a way out of this. This was the constructs of Wall Street. And I didn't see a way out for young people, for myself, for middle America. We were becoming much more polarized between the haves and the have-nots. And so when Bitcoin came around, I kind of sniffed around and got enough information that I did go down the rabbit hole. And coincidentally, when I did go down that rabbit hole, it was a bad period of my life. And boy, did I just go down the rabbit hole. I'm talking about 6 hours a day. I read everything I could, devoured everything I could, got in early, late 2015, and bought Bitcoin and learned how to hold it myself, off chain, in a hard, in a cold wallet. So I'm self-taught in that respect and have just stayed with the community and continued to learn and have been so enamored with the story of what's been happening and where it's going, and feel that there's so much optimism and hope, whereas just only a matter of years before there was hardly any. So it's changed my life in so many ways, and I feel eternally grateful and want to share it with more people if possible, particularly with people in my age group. And I'm older. I'm about 62, almost 63. And there's no reason why older people can't learn about it and have access to it as well. So I'm happy to tell my story and how I got into it and discuss more of who I am and what it's all about with you, Nick. Mm-hmm. You've been an inspiration as well. Your enthusiasm, I love it. Especially the stories on Twitter where you're trying to get all the old farts on board. I love that. That was cool.
It's amazing.
Makes me want to hug you and pinch your cheek.
It's amazing. I was talking with John Vallis, another popular Bitcoin podcaster, and we were talking about how it's amazing how someone my age can relate so much to someone, of a different age. Like, you're much older than me, and yet here we are talking about this one thing that brings us together, and that one thing is Bitcoin. It's truly like...
There's a lot of love around it, and I think it was done out of love and out of compassion, out of doing the right thing in life. And when that happens, I don't care what, where you come from, what language, what color, what sex, what gender, whatever. it's a unifying thing, and it's a good thing. It's a hopeful thing. So I love it, Nick.
I think
it's like
it's truly the people's money. That's the way I see it. Another thing I wanted to point out is you are like the millionth person I've talked to that told me they found Bitcoin in like one of their darkest times in life. I know that happened for me when I found Bitcoin, and I like really dove into it. I was in the worst spot in my life. I had just interviewed Nico at BitVolt the other week, and he was telling me the same exact thing. And I just feel like all these conversations, like with all these different people on Twitter, we all have so much in common, especially when we found Bitcoin. It's pretty remarkable.
It is remarkable. And who I love right now, right for the time being, not for the time being, forever, is this Michael Saylor. What he's done has been tremendous. And he's gone not only down the rabbit hole, but he's talking about how Bitcoin, the design, just like play, is aligned with nature's patterns. He calls it's in alignment with the laws of thermodynamics and physics, etc. And I think people who have been out of sorts, out of alignment in their darkest times, they find Bitcoin, they know intuitively it's on course. And it helps put us on course. Just like when we begin to play again in our lives, it puts us back on course in deep engagement as nature intends. So I think that there's an alignment that takes place through Bitcoin and its design that really not only brings people together, but helps heal and creates behaviors that are in alignment with nature and not against nature. The leakiness, as Michael Saylor likes to call it, the leakiness and the inefficiencies of the current system, financial system as it is now, is making us sick, just like the lack of play in our lives is making us sick, and it's been hijacked. Our engagement with each other in the marketplace has been hijacked by intermediaries, and it's time for us to take it back. This is revolutionary.
That was awesome. That was an awesome quote. I really like Michael Saylor. He got into Bitcoin a lot later than me, but I've learned so much from him because he really gets it. Like, he really gets it. And one little fun fact, I'm assuming he lives in Tyson's Corner, Virginia, where his the MicroStrategy building is, and that's like pretty much where I grew up. So it's pretty cool. But like I've moved out of Virginia since then. But I was annoyed because I was like, man, right as I move out of Virginia, Michael Saylor pops up. Like, I would have tried to, like, message him and like meet him for dinner and talk Bitcoin or something.
Well, sure. Well, don't let that stop you, Nick. I mean, It's just a space and time. That's all. You can hop on a bus or a plane or and get in the car and go. I don't know where you're located, and he flies all over the place. Maybe he'd come to you.
Yeah. So moving on to my next question is, you really seem super optimistic about Bitcoin. What is the most amazing thing about Bitcoin to you? You can name a couple if you don't have one exactly.
The most amazing thing? Oh, well, this whole thing of decentralization and empowering people and putting the responsibility back on each one of us to really take hold of our own lives. I think that's just the way of the future, and Bitcoin is inviting us to do that. So I call it radical personal responsibility, and Bitcoin is a gift in that respect. If we want to hodl our own Bitcoin and be responsible for our own financial lives, Bitcoin allows for that, but it also tells us that we're personally responsible for that, and we can't blame anybody or anything if we screw it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, that provides us with some structure and discipline in our lives. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, it enables us to become more of who we can become through that. So, yeah, I think the decentralization, the radical personal responsibility that it foments, oh gosh, there's just so much. The fact that it's in alignment with nature's laws. Oh, we should be having the whole environmental movement on top of this. I mean, there's just so many natural cohorts and comrades, if you will, who could share the mission with us, because it's all for good. It's all for good.
Mm-hmm. Do you, looking at the world today, like people that are not into Bitcoin, because I've noticed a trend on Twitter that like you said, Bitcoin tends to make you more disciplined and make you want, personal responsibility. In the world today, away from Bitcoin, do you think that there's a lack of personal responsibility amongst like the average person?
Yeah, I do. I think that there has been a move towards instant gratification and hedonism. There takes a lot of responsibility and personal discipline to hold Bitcoin, not sell it, not be seduced by instant gratification, to understand that really the payoff comes down the line. And perhaps we've fallen into this because there's been no other way. And maybe the hedonism and the self-gratification that seems to be incredibly rampant today is all about dealing with the pain of living in contemporary society, particularly under the auspices of a very of a system that really is suppressive to the human spirit, creatively, as well as psychically. So, yeah, I think Bitcoin answers a lot of questions in these regards as it relates to the human spirit and being able to foment new ways of behavior and new ways of being in this world, again, that are in alignment with nature, and also conducive to our own personal growth. I know I personally have grown tremendously since being involved with Bitcoin. And boy, the optimism that I have has never been higher. So that in itself is a tremendous gift.
That's actually a perfect leeway into my next question, is how has Bitcoin changed your life?
Well, I've had to become more disciplined. I'm not spending money the way I used to. I realize that we have a unique window of opportunity right now to hodl as much as we can get our hands on. I'm also having to wrestle with myself personally in my finances, in some of the decision making I've been making. I've hodled some away, but you know what? The last few days I've said, "Oh crap! Just throw the towel in, girl." So I've been getting rid of whatever leftover equities I have or what have you, and cash and everything. And guess where they're going, Nick?
All to Bitcoin?
Yeah. I'm going to be, what's that Raoul Paul says, irresponsibly long?
Yeah. That's awesome to hear. I just saw Michael Hawaii on Twitter the other day. He had sold everything in his apartment and took a picture of it. And he was like, "Oh, I put it all into Bitcoin," and everyone's just cheering him on. Yeah, I love to see it.
I do too, but it's a courageous act on my part. I mean, I'm not as young as you are, so I don't have the time to, if I screw it up, I don't have the opportunity to bounce back. So at the same time, after a good long talk with myself, I had to reconcile myself that, it's time to step up. You've done your homework. It's a good educated decision. If you don't do this, will you be able to live with yourself? So that's what it came down to.
Okay, that's interesting. So what are your thoughts on like using Bitcoin for retirement?
Well, that's a great question, Nick, and something that I've been kind of grappling with for the last 2 or 3 days. What I don't want to do is hodl Bitcoin for all of these years and through thick and thin, and then all of a sudden it goes up to whatever amount, and I become seduced by the riches, so to speak, and sell, and it's forever gone because I'll never get back in at those prices. So I started looking around saying, well, how can I monetize this investment? And of course, one of the ways is to either borrow against that collateral. And again, Ralph Paul says that it's the most pristine of collaterals, or I can lend. So these types of things are just beginning to kind of spin out. The added bonus I've heard and I've learned is that if I go that route, instead of paying for capital gains, I don't have a tax hit, particularly if I borrow. So what I've learned most recently is liquid pool is being developed through not Blockstream, Liquid Labs, I guess is
Lightning Labs.
It's Lightning Pool through Lightning Labs. And what that is lending Bitcoin to the Lightning Network, which I guess really needs liquidity. And what I love about that design is that it's decentralized. There's no intermediary. It's pure peer-to-peer. And you hold on to your private keys. Nobody else gets your private keys. So you hold on to that that noodle, that very important aspect of Bitcoin. Because once you've lost those private keys, the Bitcoin, in essence, is no longer yours. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited about that. It's brand new. It's just being developed, but I understand that the lending that will go on that platform is pretty cool. It could be short term, long term, whatever. And of course, this way I can provide liquidity to Lightning, which I'd love to do. Mm-hmm. Help Bitcoin in any way I can.
Yeah, I read a bit into Ryan Gentry's post on it that he did for Lightning Labs, and it seems really cool. I haven't looked too much into it, but from what you just said and from what I've seen around Twitter, I know I read a bit of the Bitcoin Magazine post we did for it as well. It's just, I'm so bullish on what's being developed in Bitcoin, and I didn't even know that was being developed, and then they just, plop it on the table for us, and it's like, it makes me think like, what's next? It's
absolutely. I think we're, as a lot of people have said, we're in this beautiful renaissance. This is just going to flourish. So much to look forward to. Mm-hmm. Unbelievable.
It's amazing that we're right at the very beginning of it too.
Yeah. Are we blessed or what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like people 100 years from now, 200 years from now, maybe 1,000 years from now will be like, man, I wonder what it was like living back in, post 2009 in the early days. And we're seeing, like a lot of these people who are creating all these Bitcoin products and doing all this research for Bitcoin and, providing education on ramps and stuff, like these people deserve a lot more credit than they're getting, even the ones that get a lot of credit.
They're heroes. They're
Mm-hmm.
cultural heroes and icons. I think they should be, we should be bowing down to, the Adam Backs and, the Greg Maxwell's, and just tremendous men of heart, a vision and heart. They are heroes in a time when we've been lacking heroes and integrity. And they also display what it means to be a good human being.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really respect all these people because they really lead by example.
They lead by example, but what's beautiful too to this story, Nick, is that they're doing what they love.
Mm-hmm.
They would be doing this even if they weren't getting paid for it. And a lot of them never did, up front. I'm sure some of them are getting paid now. But, many years, this was all unpaid work. They were doing this because they loved it. These were engineers who loved what they were doing. So they weren't working, Nick. They were playing. They were fully engaged. And each one of us needs to do the same in our lives. Not every single one of us is an engineer, and we don't become fully engaged through these types of, similar activities. But the deal is we've got to find what it is that inspires us and sparks us, and then take it to the next level. So that's what a lot of my IP and what the patents are about also, and why I love Bitcoin and why I see these two things, just dovetailing, because Bitcoin can be the financial, strata, but we also have an engagement strata on top of the Bitcoin protocol that needs to be addressed. And there's no reason why we should take the industrial era's methodologies of engagement and throwing them on top of a brand new protocol of Bitcoin. We need to be developing new ways of engagement, again, that are healthier and in alignment with nature. So I'm excited on so many different levels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One thing I wanted to say before I move on is, one thing I find really admirable is some of these people, especially some of the Bitcoin devs, they don't make any money unless they get a developer grant from a company. And these people, like I remember being told growing up, like get a job in a career you love and you'll never feel like you're working. And I feel like most people nowadays don't follow that advice, and they end up in a dead end job making not that good of money, or even if they are making good money, they're still very unhappy. And then I look at these Bitcoiners who are working super hard, either developing, creating a company. They love their life. They love what they do.
Yeah, but also think about this, Nick. With automation, AI, and robotics coming in, the world is changing awfully quickly. And a lot of jobs, the legacy jobs are going to be lost. So there is a big need for people to recreate themselves. So what's beautiful about the Bitcoin protocol is that it really allows for a payment system, a peer-to-peer payment system at some point through Lightning, and or Liquid, but also, again, with radical personal responsibility. Each person is going to have to take a hard look at their own lives, because things have just changed so much, COVID, everything else. We're going to have to learn how to literally recreate ourselves. We're going to have to define what it is we love in this world and love to do, and how we love to engage, and then create skills around that. And Bitcoin will allow for that. So we talk about a renaissance, incoming renaissance. This is it. It's peer-to-peer. It's finding what you love and what you love to do. It's learning how to play again and authentically engage again. And I can't think of a better world for people. a financial system that an economy that's in alignment, just an economic design that is in alignment with nature, and then our day-to-day lives that are in alignment with ourselves and with nature. I mean, good times are ahead of us. It seems like the craps right now, and it is. It's been very difficult for many people, but I think we're going to spring out of this stronger and more resilient than ever.
That was beautifully said.
What I hope for.
So we're winding down to the 30-minute mark, and I really want to thank you for coming on. But before we close out, I do want to ask you one more question. We're going to get bullish here. So what's your price prediction for New Year's 2021 and Bitcoin at the fourth halving?
2021?
New Year's 2021.
It's over 500K.
I can agree with that. I can get behind that.
Yeah, it's over 500K. When we start looking at some of the companies and the treasuries starting to hop on board, I mean, you start listening to Wall Street pundits in these leaders, so-called leaders, investors, begin to take a serious look at Bitcoin. It starts off slow, and then it's going to be a mad rush. And that's why, I've had these hard talks with myself the last few days, because this is the last chance to really get in at a price mark that really doesn't shut a lot of, a huge amount of people out. Keep buying your Bitcoin.
Do you have a price prediction for the time of the fourth halving?
Well, certainly over 1 million, maybe well over 1 million, certainly 1 million. That would be the bottom, 1.5 million.
Okay, I like that. So now we've come to the end of the interview. I really want to thank you for coming on. For everyone listening, you can follow her on Twitter at Playful121 and check out her website as well. Both of those links will be down in the description. And Kristen, before we sign off, do you have any last words you want to say?
I just want to thank you, Nick, for our chat and for interviewing me. It's not often you see an older woman on these podcasts, and I feel very blessed that you allowed me in, and you have the resiliency to let somebody a little different on your podcast, perhaps with a different point of view and history. So I thank you for that, and want to wish you and all of your podcast listeners the very best, and don't forget to buy your Bitcoin, please.
Perfect. So if you made it to the end of the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next week with a brand new guest.
Bye. Thank you.
Hold on to the pavement. Hit me, love me, for grateful recognition.